In the days after the invasion, he retreated into his own mind, being unable to comprehend just what was happening, which left his government, who were terrified to act against him following his brutal purges, unsure what to do. The Soviet army sustained incredible losses in the early days of the war, while the Soviet Air Force was largely smashed on the ground. The aircraft that did get airborne were often obsolete types, or their pilots poorly trained, making them easy targets for skilled and experienced German fighters. The Soviet forces also had to contend with anti-communist forces, conducting sabotage and intelligence-gathering operations for the Germans. The fighting in the East was particularly brutal. Hitler told his forces that a war against the Soviet Union could not be fought along civilized lines, and as such, he promised no German would ever be held accountable for his conduct against the enemy. In a sense, they were given a free hand to rape, plunder, and murder. When Soviet units were overwhelmed, many of them surrendered as their command structure collapsed, and these soldiers were led into captivity, where there was an actual plan in place to starve them to death. Behind the German troops' advance, German death squads began murdering so-called undesirables, such as Jews. The speed of the German advance took everyone by surprise, including the Germans themselves. The vast areas of land Germany's forces took proved a logistical nightmare, and on several occasions they lost the initiative as they waited for supplies of food, fuel, and armaments. The Germans advanced across eastern Poland, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Ukraine, and into Russia itself, proving almost unstoppable. But everyone knew that the biggest obstacle the Germans would have to face was rapidly approaching: the Russian winter. Now that they were allied against Germany, Britain sent aircraft, tanks, and weapons to the Soviet Union to allow Stalin to relocate his industrial base out of the range of German aircraft. Additionally, on August 25, 1941, both countries launched a joint invasion of Iran to protect Allied supply lines in the region. By December 1941, the snow was setting in, but German troops were on the verge of taking Moscow itself. However, they failed to take the city, and their advance ground to a halt. The Soviet Union's leadership, meanwhile, had relocated their major weapons production facilities further east, out of the range of German bombers, which allowed them to build tanks and aircraft unmolested. They were also getting supplies from Britain, thanks to the efforts of the men on the perilous Arctic convoys. The German army leadership knew the truth, even if Hitler remained convinced of Germany's superiority. They had lost their window of opportunity to destroy the Soviet Union quickly. Now, the Soviets were engaged, committed, and far more prepared for the coming war of attrition than Germany was. In Mein Kampf, Hitler had outlined that Germany could not fight a prolonged war on two fronts. Yet, at the end of 1941, he was effectively committed to three: Britain in the West, British Commonwealth in North Africa, and now the Soviet Union in the East. And while the snow fell on German soldiers in Russia, ill-equipped for winter warfare, a world away, in the tropical climate of Hawaii, a fleet of Japanese ships were closing in on the American naval base at Pearl Harbor. Join us next time for the conclusion of this two-part special, covering the explosive close to World War